Welcome to The Leap, real stories of women who started something of their own. I'm Hester Spiegel, and I believe that every great leap starts with one question: what if there is something more? In each episode, you will hear from women who left corporate to build their own thing. And their stories will spark inspiration, build confidence, and show how to start strong. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, do you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Anu. It's nice to meet you all. Thank you for taking time on a Friday. I have had a long career in tech, 20 plus years in big tech. And now I've just launched my own startup. We're very new. 2 weeks incorporated. That's how new we are. We don't even have a website. Thank you. And through this startup, we are on a mission to get people to engage more with reading and with stories.
Hi everyone, my name's Sissy. I used to be a registered architect in Australia. Now I'm the co-owner of the Singapore brand Momiji. We pioneer rattan design and we sell to Singapore, USA, and very soon Malaysia.
Right, I'm Kopal. I'm the second-time founder. My current venture is in carbon markets. It's backed by Standard Chartered Bank Ventures and NG Factory. I'm so glad to be here and getting more and more inspired by when I was talking to you all.
Excellent, welcome. So let's start. Why did you decide to start something of your own?
So when you've been in corporate for a long time, I think you end up being part of a very large function. You're a cog in a machine. You could be a big cog, you could be a small cog, but there is a machine that is functioning that can run very comfortably without you. And I was just itching to go build something on my own. So that's my simple motivation.
So to build something of your own. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think for me, at my point in life, it felt like I had no other choice. I had just moved to Singapore and I had very young kids, and I wanted to go back to work, but I knew that corporate architecture would pretty much mean I would never see them. So I thought really the only other path here is to start my own business.
Right, and for me, I think the itch was always there while I was growing up as well. It's just that I took a few attempts before I actually started my venture. One of them was becoming a teacher because I was always interested in education industry. I thought might as well try being a teacher and see how the industry works. And then I stumbled on a problem which was very close to my heart, and I realized nobody else was solving or even thinking about it. And that was the nudge that I needed to leave the cushion of a banking job and plunge into the Alice of Wonderland.
So you went from a corporate job to becoming a teacher?
Oh yes. So I was working with JP Morgan at that time. I was happy. I was doing well, and as I mentioned, I always had that itch of finding out what happens in the education industry. I wanted to be a teacher, and I remember having that conversation with my manager, and he was like, "Why?" That's because I really want to be a teacher. I want summer vacations. And he was like, okay, take them. I was like, no, I really want to teach. I really want to know how this works. And rather than losing me to a competitor, he thought might as well lose me to my passion. He let me go with a promise that if ever I want to come back, his doors would be open. But yes, I became a teacher, primary school in Singapore. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then? What happened?
And then, interesting. So the first day of my job, I wore my business suit. My wardrobe was still JP Morgan, private banking, a jacket. I didn't realize that the schools do not have air cons here. And they don't have escalators too, so you really have to climb stairs. So with my heels, with my jacket, and with my corporate dress, I showed up in the school. And I went into my class and I said, so what I do? And the students, grade 4, they were kind enough to say, hey, teacher, take the attendance. I thought the attendance, and we live in a digital age, so I would have a scanner or something. No, it is still the same old, where you have to say P. The only innovation was now we have friction pens, which you can erase. So that was my day one, but enjoyed the journey thoroughly and took back a lot from the time I spent there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you clearly did not know the path that you chose back then, and you found your way back in a way. So now you're building a venture, you're in the financial services, building a venture backed by a large bank and NG. Yeah,
That's right.
So that's great. So how did that go for you, Sissy and Anu? Maybe we start with you, Sissy. You said so that's the only choice I had. What do you mean with that?
Being a stay-at-home mom was just killing me. I knew I had to do something, and I guess because I was keeping an open mindset, then when an opportunity arose, it just felt right for me. I think I just felt really strongly about something, like the way Kopal felt. In that, in Singapore, one of my favorite brands was Momiji, and when the founder announced the shop closure, I just felt really sad. I thought if this brand disappeared from the world, it would be a sadder place. And then I thought, even though I'm an architect, I don't have direct experience in supply chains, operations, logistics, I believe that I am capable enough to learn and to be someone who can carry this brand forward. And so that's what I did, I guess.
I think it was when we met. So how Sissy and I met is when Sissy was pitching at an event where I was a judge, and I was like, that is really smart. So because I think there's many who have the ambition to start something for themselves, but don't have the idea. So I thought, that is smart. You buy a brand and then you create a market for it. Is that... I think it's a good idea. You have done it. Is there anything that you can advise others who would like to follow that same route that you have?
Yeah, sure. I should clarify that if someone closes a brand, there's always a reason. Regardless of whatever they tell you, there's always skeletons in the closet. So you have to make sure you're not going to buy the brand and run it exactly the same way. That would not work. So for us, we bought the brand always with the intention of taking it overseas, because we could completely understand how a niche product in a tiny market, there's really no growth, no future for it. But in the world where we have almost no competitors for this product, we could really see, a future. So my only other tip linked to that is, if you're trying to buy an existing brand, negotiating a price, they're obviously going to sweet talk what the value is. But once you seal the deal, it's almost like you need to have a super transparent conversation with them of, they need to identify for you immediately the way they were running it and all the ways they could tell that it could be improved, because those are all your openings to fine-tune that operation for survival, because otherwise, eventually, it's only a matter of time before you're going to be hit with the same limitations and you won't be able to overcome them. So that's kind of our tough lesson that we learnt with time. Because as part of our package, we pay them for consultancy that they would for several months train us, because, my business partner and we don't have direct experience in this field. And then after 6 months, we realized the last thing we should be doing was running it the same way. So I just want to tell you that up front.
Thank you for that very practical advice. Hey, and Anu, you chose the riskiest path of all. You became a startup founder after how many years in corporate? 20,
Yes.
Exactly 9 years at Google. So you decided to start everything new product, service, new solution, and a new market, start from scratch. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, it feels like a lot when you put it like that.
I know it is a lot.
In the beginning, in fact, the first time Hester and I met, I wasn't even sure if this was a passion project or a startup. And I remember you asked me the question, and something clicked. I was like, well, you know what? This has the capability of being more than just a passion project. So the full context is, I'm a techie. I'm a very geeky human being. I love technology. I've always been building. I'm a computer engineer by education. How I landed my first job at Microsoft was because eons ago, a bunch of my friends and I, right out of college, built what was the world's first fully automated shopping system. And it got pitched in front of Bill Gates, which was a really big deal. But this was right after the 2000 .com bust. Back then, we were studying in Singapore. There was no infrastructure for startups in Singapore back then. We all had massive student loans. So there was almost no way it was possible to envision that technology could be built here. It almost felt like all of innovation belonged to Silicon Valley. So we let that go, and there were corporate jobs. And the corporate jobs were amazing. Like, you learn and you become who you are today because of the cumulative experiences you have through those. But there was this itch. I was like, what if that had materialized? What could we have been had we gone down the path of building the world's first fully automated shopping system? So that's the dream that I'm fulfilling now.
I love what you said. You didn't want that what if. I think that's the worst to feel. And I think that's also in situations where you are now. You are 40 something and you still have, 10, 20 good years to go where you can put into work your deep domain knowledge, everything you've learned and accumulated. Please don't think what if, when you're 60. So if you have any aspiration, just try it and do it, because I think thanks for bringing that up. But what is it that you know now that you didn't know when you started a couple of months ago?
I think there's a startup is almost a bit like a relationship. There's the honeymoon phase. Thankfully, I'm still on the edge of that honeymoon phase. The realism hasn't kicked in. But there is the point where you get to be just a dreamer. And the dream is beautiful, and that's the dream you're chasing, right? But then along the way, you have to start putting in realistic checks. And I think that's what the program I did with you helped me, which was, well, this idea and concept is amazing, but let's think about execution. Let's think about how you will actually make money. How will you convince someone to buy this product? Yeah. So it happens in a step-by-step way. And I think for a couple of months into this process, I think we are, especially those of us that come from the corporate world, we pride ourselves in being these people that are very good at risk assessment. Like that's practically half the job, right? Like you look at a plan and you're like, hey, let me tear apart to pieces how this can fail. And of course, my job in a big company is to prevent that failure from happening. When you're a startup founder, you also have to be your own motivator. And you have to be that light that says, well, you know what, all of this could fail, but let's also take a moment to celebrate some micro wins. And the micro wins can be super tiny. You figured out how to read and write a founder's agreement. It could be something as basic as that, but it's brand new learning. And that's something that that's a new muscle for me, celebrating the micro wins.
Yeah. When you're a corporate, it's all visible. When you make promotion, your growth is visible. You get a new title, it's announced, your business card shows a new title. Yeah. Success can be loud, but when you are building what you are building, success can be quiet and growth can be invisible, which is hard. As you say, you need to be your own motivator. So you almost need to ignite your own match, right? Yeah, that takes a specific kind. Yeah, very good. So how that permission to pivot, maybe Kopal, how did you deal with that? Because it's kind of, you give yourself permission to do this, right? To make these changes. You've done it several times. How does that work for you when you take that, when you give yourself that permission? Or is it maybe not yourself, or do you check in your environment?
Right. I think, so just to highlight, after I became a teacher, very suddenly I realized that the way to contribute to an education industry may not be just by being a teacher. I want to build a venture in education industry. I went back to banking, and that was accepting that I always wanted to be a teacher. I thought that I always wanted to be a teacher. Realization that the goal versus the execution could be different. So giving yourself the permission and giving up the vanity where your colleagues are going to say, oh, you're back again, right? So going back to banking, knowing very well that why am I back? And that was very clearly to be financially ready to do my own venture. I went back into education and started my venture, which is Digipanion. Giving the permission again, to actually one more time take the plunge and preparing my family for a second attempt. I think what helped me, Hester, is I don't see it as going back and forth. They are always steps towards something that you are exploring and you're moving towards. They will never be linear. They are never going to be grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. You will move sideways. You will move, in every direction. And so that is a permission that you have to give yourself, that it is okay. You don't understand my plan. I do. I am moving in a plan which I think is best for me given my circumstances and what I have. So that is a permission you always have to give yourself every day.
Yeah. And then there's support systems too that are very important. Do you have a co-founder?
Oh, okay, yes. So my first learning when I started off my venture was it was a solopreneur attempt. I had good team members, I had good support, but not having a co-founder made it so lonely and so difficult. Whom do you celebrate your wins with? You got a meeting which you've been trying to, get since last 2 months, and you go and tell your family member. They'll say, "Okay, good," but there is no one to actually understand that. And I remember once when I launched my product, it was an app-based product. The first day of my launch, and that moment taught me so much. I pressed the button. I saw my app published. It was good. I downloaded it. It worked. And then I went out to celebrate that win with my friends. I came back and my app was hacked. There was a banner out there that you have to pay 2 Bitcoins to release the app. For your family, it's okay. You can do something about it. Calm down. But the world comes crushing down and you have no one to actually understand that. Now I do have a co-founder. And when I ventured this time, I did not look at the idea. I did not look at the growth potential. I did not look at the market. I actually absolutely just focused on building a repo and finding the right co-founder. Once I did that, I know everything else is okay. We will figure it out. So yes, I do have a co-founder now.
And how do you know it's the right one?
Oh, I have, in the last 6 months, I have been more myself with him than with anyone else. So bringing authentic you, it doesn't matter if I'm, PMSing or if I'm in a good mood or if I'm in a bad mood, bring it all out. Nothing in the closet behind.
So you conditioned him a bit and he took it and now you are solid.
Exactly.
Solid.
Yes.
Sounds like a
It
great
doesn't
strategy.
mean that things do not happen. It's just we know that if this happens, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Not sure I would advise this for like marriages, but it could work. Sometimes it is like a marriage, right? So Sissy, you have a co-founder. How important is life stage alignment?
Very important. Similar to Kopal, I used to run my own architectural design practice and I was by myself and I really struggled with that because you never know everything, you never have enough experience, and the fact that you have to rely only on yourself is just incredibly scary. But anyway, so I think what's really worked with my business partner, it's the life alignment, because we're similar age, mature women, because of all our life experiences, being mothers, being wives, etc. We're mature, we're realistic. I think that's really important. So compromise is normal, and we're both by personality not selfish people. So even though we have very opposite opinions, always we're looking for the best result for, the group or, the scenario at hand. We don't by nature are looking for, a result for me. So I think that's worked amazingly. And really it is like a second husband/wife. So it's, many days you're going to spend more time communicating with them than with your own partner.
Can definitely confirm that. Yeah, to your point, I totally see that as well in my current, business partner with Maaike. Many of you know her. That's indeed life stage alignment, but also cultural alignment. We're both Dutch, and as most know, Dutch are very direct, so we can be very direct to each other, but that saves us time. We do not get emotionally involved when we get direct, like, oh no, that's a bad idea. Oh, okay, why then? So we talk about it. So sometimes our interns were like, oh, they're fighting. So we're like, no, we're not fighting. We're cleaning up stuff so that we can move forward. So alignment in different ways is important. So let's talk a little bit about the lifestyle design, right? Because entrepreneurship, it's not a career choice. It's a lifestyle choice. Any of you who wants to take it, but how has being an entrepreneur affected the ones around you?
Yes. So I would say entrepreneurship is synonymous with trying to lose weight, right? You can try, you manage your diet, you do your exercise, and you will keep on putting it back unless and until you actually make lifestyle changes. And that is how probably I find closest to entrepreneurship. Now, how does it impact people around you? Very similar to when you start making those healthy choices and putting yourself first rather than whatever reasons you were following those unhealthy choices. Spouse, he could be a believer or he could be a supporter. The first, I would say, impact is on him or her, whoever your partner is. Financially, it takes a toll. One income is gone. If you're bootstrapping, even worse. If you are with investors, much worse. So you have they're much. I mean, they are there to make money. You've got to understand that. So I think besides that, the children as well, because you would hope that they would see you more. Maybe they will not. You go through your ups and downs too often, more often during the day. You don't have a backup. When you're on holidays, you're checking your emails all the time. They don't understand that you have to take that call and there's no one who's going to take it when you're not around. So they are on that journey with you. They can support you, they can believe in you. But then again, if they are not with you, it becomes much harder to actually take the next step. So they have to come along and they don't have a choice. So, yeah.
I think that's super good advice. Yeah, yeah. Very recognizable. There's also many women who say, I chose entrepreneurship to be more flexible, to be more with my kids. But then you end up sitting with your laptop with your kids, right? Which is also not
Exactly.
helpful.
I was sharing with Sissy just now. She asked me if I have dinner plans. And I'm like, yeah, Friday night is a date night. Because you put your spouses the last. Your work, your children, your helper, your pet, your home. If there is anything left, comes your spouse. So you have to be so conscious about making time with him or her. So yeah.
I think the only thing I'll add to that is there's been a shift of mindset that I've observed in myself, which is just a single minded obsession. Because this startup, this company is your baby. You're the only one that is there to care for it. And honestly, you never stop thinking about it. And over a period of time, you learn to tune into it, you learn to tune out of it, but you never switch it off. And that's something that my kids noticed as well. So it's a muscle. It'll happen over time where you figure out like what the right space you create between your work, which is your baby, but also your life. But that was something that surprised me.
And have you put boundaries or support or help in place to manage it all?
Not yet. We'll get there.
Any tips from the audience? That's good. So let's talk a little bit about growth, right? So you're at different stages, but growth, we know, for women-led businesses is a challenge when you are dependent on external capital. 2% of all the capital equity investment goes to women-led startups and businesses. So that is a problem, right? So that means that you need to have a very strong business model, because you need to have the engine in place that works and is able to fly the plane. And if you need to go further and faster, you add extra fuel, right? That's the way to think about it. So how do you, and again, whoever wants to take it, how do you combine that passion that you have with building a strong business model?
Right. So in my first venture, Digipanion, I would be honest, I did not, while I thought that I have figured out the business model, it was not a validated business model. And what it means is that I did not go through the unit economics of my effort. I did not include my own effort into things that I was building. There were several loopholes which I just couldn't see. When if I'm being honest, I was playing on passion and belly fire predominantly. It was, I'm passionate about it. Money comes next. Let me change the world. Let me tell you this is the right thing to do. Let me tell you all of that. There's a lot of thought leadership, a lot of passion. I forgot that entrepreneurship is a business activity. There's a transaction that has to happen. I was ready to give free classes. I was ready to give free product. You're happy, I'm happy. This time round, and I think thanks to my co-founder as well, he comes from a background where he's good with validating business model, but we are still figuring out our business model. One thing that I have learned from him is stopping the activities which are not where you do not have a business model or a transaction in sight very early on. No ego attachment to anything that you are doing which do not seem to be generating business. It could be the product that you spent hours to build. It could be a relationship it could be anything. Being super hyper focused, and that's what investors actually look for. Investors do look for passion belly fire. That's a given. If you don't have that, you will not be a entrepreneur at all. But how soon you can actually learn and iterate, how soon can you identify failure and success both? It's not working, stop it. It's working, let's put our resources in it. So yes, validating business model is the first step. First, it happens on the paper, then it happens in your venture. It has to be that clear.
Yeah, I love that. Very true. No ego attachment to what you're building. You need to be able to let it go and still have the belly fire. So it's that balance.
Yes.
Yeah. And it needs to have a business model. Yeah, very good. So let's talk a little bit about the real story, right? What entrepreneurship, what it feels like. So, and what it also really brings you, both the good sides and the not so good sides. What's it for you? What has it brought you, and could you do without?
Oh, just volumes of learning. I feel like I had not tapped into my learner for a long time. And the way it's happening right now, it's just drinking from the fire hose. And it's everything, whether it's you're the business person, you're the creative person, you're the business development person, you are the CFO who's trying to think of the business model accuracy. But that part has been infectious. Like it's almost like you can continue to run on that as fuel and be passionate, and actually sometimes maybe lose sight of the fact that this is a real business. I think the part that I'm learning is, as a startup founder, you cannot be embarrassed to ask for things. And that was something that was a new muscle for me. I used to always be a person who was in a position to give. But now I have to be in a position where I have to ask, whether it's for a contact, whether it's for an introduction, for, hey, give me advice on my business plan. And that has also been a good learning experience because it's definitely outside of my comfort zone.
Something you never had to do, right? In 20
Never
years
had to
of
do.
corporate.
Did not have to do it.
Yeah. You never had to sell your own thing. You never had to ask for something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sissy, is there, they always say babies and startup founders, they never sleep. What keeps you up at night, either from excitement or concerns?
Absolutely both. Because, you're always going to have the wins and then daily challenges. And as they come in, you can already kind of foresee the future based off this little sign. And sometimes, the highs, they're more than what you would have even dreamed of. You really feel like you can't believe this is happening, But then the lows, that's when you have the moments where you thrive on being able to have full freedom to be who you are and bring all your strengths to the world and, achieve something positive with all your strengths. But then in your lows, you have complete self-doubt and you feel like, why did I even trust myself? Why did I think that I could do this? Why did I, huge mistake. Like that's what happens. But then pretty much those moments do pass again. We had a really bad low 2 months ago and now we're upwards trending again. So it's in the end, I guess it's balanced. It's a extreme ride.
And you, Kopal? What keeps you up at night?
Oh, a lot of it actually. So if I would say, I think people. So one thing I've learned in my entrepreneurship journey is the ability and the muscle to be able to work with all kinds of people. People whom you can, the skill set is not around anymore. And you don't have a lot of resources. So you have to make the best of what resources are being made available to you. And that will mean that you will rub shoulders and you will work very closely with people you may not even like or gel with and so on and so forth. In corporate, you have a full-blown system to say, hey, she is like that. I'm not going to work. This is the manager I'm going to avoid. This is the team member I'm not going to hire. This is the one. So you can navigate through. When you are an entrepreneur, it does not matter who the person is. You are focusing on what job needs to get done. an ability to work with anyone and everyone and getting the best out of them, which can help your venture. If you can master that skill, then you will never have, dearth of resources. What keeps me awake is actually the people. People I'm working with. There are people who just get on your nerves, and if you want, you do not want to see them ever again. But you still have to go to the next day, and the whole night you're thinking, what am I going to say tomorrow? How am I going to keep my teacher voice down and not come across as, keep your phone down, I'm talking to you. That's how teachers, can. People interaction, getting very clear about, this is the meeting tomorrow. This is the person I love. That's okay. This is the person I may not want to work, but this is the objective. I need to get out of what I have to get out. And that's what everything else falls into place. Investors fall into place. Investors come in the same boat where you may not like them, but they are the ones who have given you money.
Yeah.
So you have to work with them.
I find that super interesting because I always say, as an entrepreneur, you have freedom of relationship. Where, I was in corporate for 15 years, and you can't really choose. Well, the further you get, the more you can choose. But in principle, you can't choose your manager, you can't choose your teammates, and you have people who kind of suck your energy out instead of give you energy. And I'm always saying, but I hear the opposite of you, which is very interesting. I was saying you have freedom of relationship. You can choose who you work with, who you hire, who's going to be your co-founder. Of course, when it comes to investors, it gets a bit harder. But how do you feel about it? Do you have more freedom of relationships being an entrepreneur versus being corporate, or less?
So far, for me, more, but I also think it's because we are very early on. There will be times that we will have to figure out the right balance of resources, and there can be many things that can be new and unexpected. It's not even about intentions on either side. It's just new ways of working that you have to get used to. So far, I've had more freedom, but I can envision a stage where I could be in that state.
Yeah.
I think in the end, for me, it's a bit of both. It's just that I have more power as an entrepreneur in that relationship, I would say. So it's very equal, or at least I can stand my ground. But unfortunately, I'm still stuck with someone I don't ideally want to, have in my life. So, just to give you context, one of our suppliers, he sells off our designs to other people and isn't apologetic about it. But unfortunately, we still have to maintain this relationship. So. Yeah.
Until you hit profitability.
Exactly.
Those are.
And then I have more power.
The sacrifices. Yeah.
But at least I'm not inferior to him, because in a corporate environment that might happen,
Good point. Good. I want to do a rapid fire, which is like short questions and as short as possible answers, one word or one sentence. And then we open up to the floor for questions. Good. I knew I was ready for my second act. When?
When I watched an episode on Netflix and realized that people aren't reading anymore.
When I felt the world would be a sadder place if I didn't do anything.
Right. I remember the exact moment I was sitting on my chair and I was thinking of giving the phone to my daughter, and I turned around and I asked one of my colleagues, how do you manage? And then she goes, we don't. And I said, what? Okay. So I think in that moment I knew that this is something that I've got to do it, no matter what it takes.
My version of success, so my definition of success now includes?
No regrets.
Running a business and being fully present for my children.
Boundaries. Very healthy, very, my boundaries is my definition of success.
When is a good time to start as an entrepreneur?
When you feel like you can go through 2 years without a salary.
Very good point.
Yeah, I would say financial reserves.
I think mentally, finance, or if you are ready to have your ego stripped away from you, nobody is going to tell you that you work for a corporate. Nobody's going to give you their CV. When you are ready to be no one with nothing attached, that's where that you are ready to be an entrepreneur. You go in an event, and you introduce yourself from a company which probably doesn't exist, nobody knows, and you don't even get an attention.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody's
Nobody cares.
listening. No, to you,
Yes.
it's the world. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's when
Yeah.
you're ready to be no one.
Yeah. From your best paying job, how much of a pay cut did you take, percentage-wise?
100%.
100%.
100%.
100%. I think
Yeah.
100% didn't hurt me that much. From banking to teaching hurt me more. Because it's still a job. And there were not enough boxes for me to write what my current salary is when I filled up the application form for being a teacher.
Yeah, I'm the same because we're still growing, so we're still putting money in. Yeah.
What is a quiet success that you're proud of?
Ask and you shall get, but you have to ask.
You can feel your business model improving in efficiency and tightening, and I love that feeling.
I think, so I got a chance to work with UNICEF, where I wrote Sri Lanka's digital safety curriculum. I couldn't publish it on internet, nobody knows about it, but spending a week writing the curriculum, working with the teachers from the villages, teaching them, I think that will stay with me forever. That was a different experience altogether.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, it's not always loud or visible, but it's there. Great. Thank you. I'd like to open up for questions. Does any one of you have questions?
So Anumeha, first of all, congratulations on your startup. The question I have, I guess, as you start, what did you say? 3 weeks, 3 days in corporation?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Congrats.
Maybe 3 weeks, something there. Yes.
Yeah. So the reason I correlate to you, because I'm about to take a leap like this as well, from corporate world to starting something new. And what are you the most excited about? What is your next goal in the next 3 months for your business?
Well, my immediate goal is to get an MVP out, which I'm hopeful will happen in the next month or so. And then once you've finished building what you think is good enough to talk to about outside, then be ready to have holes poked into it, because that'll happen. But yeah, MVP would be the next biggest thing.
And then the second one, you have a co-founder or not?
I have 2 co-founders.
2 co-founders. How is that relationship going so far since the beginning?
It's
and
going
how
good.
did you find them, I guess?
So one person I went to college with. And I mean, when you study with someone at that age group, we were also all in hostel. You kind of know them at a fairly primal level, I would say. No one's fancy. You're all fairly basic human beings at that point. And the other person I used to know because she was my neighbor. So I think most importantly, there's just a good value system alignment. And it's knowing that there will be good days and bad days, but hopefully we'll be on the other side of both of those.
Thank you so much.
A little bit of context. I've just recently left the corporate world, and I'm going to be doing my own startup. And thank you so much. This session has been one of the most insightful times that I have attended. The last 2 months I have actually left my work. This has got to be one of the best, meetings I have attended. My question actually is to all of you, any of you, going from a corporate world where you have a structure in your day, right? You have meetings in your calendar all the way from morning till the evening, and you're really busy, and there's a half-an-hour lunch break. You have actionables, deliverables. You have to, follow a certain schedule. Coming away from that, where you're in charge of your own time, you're the master of your own time, how do you make sure you're productive? Do you work with the same kind of rigorous schedule? How do you make sure you accomplish, what you really have? How do you plan your time?
Very, very good question. It starts with afternoon naps. When you are at home and you are on your own boss, you start napping a little bit after lunch. You start, and then it becomes a habit, and then, it grows. 2 things. One is there's no, at least for me, there was no sense of daytime, or there was no morning, evening. I'm a night owl. I would start at 8, I'll finish at 3. It worked for me. I did that. So that changes, that you are no longer bound by 9 to 5 till the time you have a team. Once you have a team, then you become a little bit more disciplined. And second, I think externally, if you're really finding that difficult to keep that discipline, and that does not mean that you will lose momentum, it will just go up and down. There will be phase when you will probably not accomplish anything just because you think in your mind you're slacking, but you're probably going through a low energy, phase. And there are there's an external help available who can actually hold you to your accountability. So my experience is that there's plenty of help available outside to help you manage many things. Tap on to that. One of them is holding you to accountability and getting your goals, getting you accountable for the goals that you set out to accomplish. But managing a day, I think there's no morning, there's no evening. You are on your own body clock.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, you know your own body, like when you're most alert, you can make the best decisions. So, tap into that. But also, there's the parts that you love doing. You can't wait to do it. There's the parts you hate, like you'll drag your feet and try to avoid it, and eventually, hopefully you can give that away to someone else because it's obviously not your strength. But, and it's also okay to have the days where you maybe don't want to work, because I think a lot of us do have some sort of burnout, maybe from, corporate or whatever it is. So build up that energy reserve, because when the momentum starts on your own business, you'll have the highs, which you have no problem riding the highs, but the lows are going to come. And then if you have no energy reserves left, when you hit a bad low, you feel like that's the end. You feel like you're just going to stop, quit everything. You made a massive mistake with your life. But if you have an energy reserve, you can pull through that really hard time. So just, just listen to your own body. So
it starts with, am I going through menopause? Why am I feeling so low? And what's happening to me?
Yeah, I think, look, in our 40s, hormones are a thing. And it's not something that gets talked about. So I'm actually glad you said afternoon nap. I am guilty of it. But it is true. There are certain times in the day where I just need that 20 minutes of downtime, which would otherwise not have been possible. So I think you have to find what you need, what your body needs. But I would just say it's very easy to burn out here, because you can just keep going. The flame is always burning because it's passion fueled. So it's very important to prioritize health as part of that routine like it is part of the job.
And one thing you will notice, you are doing a lot of things which you were doing in your corporate just because the system demanded it. Creating beautiful PowerPoints, sending emails to inform each other. All of that goes away, and it creates a lot of capacity to actually do things that matter. So you might be doing 5 hours, but you might be achieving a lot more than your 8 hours in corporate.
I mean, there's always too little time, it feels, because you are going up this huge hill and there's always too little time. So there's always, and that's why I think it also keeps you awake at night. It's always in your brain. It's your baby. You want to have it succeeded. So I think the challenge is to pace yourself and to say not everything has to happen now. I mean, to our earlier points, the world really doesn't care about what you're building. It's painful, but it's also liberating, because it doesn't matter. You don't have to do it now. You can do it in 3 months as well. Really, nobody cares. So pace yourself in order to not to burn out. 72% of all entrepreneurs have self-declared mental health issues. I think some are born neurodiverse, never fit any corporate system, but the other half, I would say, really develops it because there are no boundaries, right? So how do you take holidays? You cannot put your out of office on and lie on the beach for 2 weeks and then after 2 weeks say, hell, now let's see what happened. You know, you're always on your phone, you're always on. So to keep that there. But on the other hand, also do not procrastinate, because you can nap the whole day if you like. You say 20 minutes, but if you want to just stay in bed the whole day, provided, you know, the rest of your life accommodates that, nobody's going to tell you to get up. So to keep going, so to keep the progress, and having a support system where people are your accountability buddy or your butt kicker or your critical or your cheerleader is very important. Doesn't always have to be a co-founder, but it's good to have those in place just to pace yourself.
Thank you so much. Very interesting. I have a little bit different question. Well, I kind of have two-part question. One is how success looks like, what the end of the road, how would that look like? And the other one, what will make you quit? Like, at what point do you think, can imagine that, okay, I don't want to do it anymore, or it's done, it's finished, or it's kind
Every
of
day.
two sides of it. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, don't we all think, why did we do this? Why? I mentioned it to Hester before that entrepreneurship is the hardest way to make money. Corporates are easy. I mean, the upside is unlimited and the downside is, but if you want to remain in the middle, entrepreneurship is the hardest way. Um, uh, yes, I think about, even though we are corporate backed, it is you would have that thought multiple times a day that, just why don't I leave? And then you will go to LinkedIn jobs and look for a job. And then you will realize, oh my gosh, I don't want to go back to that again. And you'll come back and do whatever motivates you to come back and do your bit. What does success look like? For me, I think this time round, it's gonna be discipline. That's all. Motivation is not something that I know is not gonna carry, is not the only one. It's not the only thing that will carry me so far, but my success is gonna be, I put my head down in it. I did whatever I was supposed to do and didn't burn out in the process. So as I mentioned, boundaries, balancing my personal and professional, and creating something that people are gonna use.
I think to answer first what would make you give up on everything and stop. You try to control so much when you're running your own business, but in the end, there are heaps more factors which you have zero control over. And when it feels like, you're this tiny little ant, and when the world just like slaps you and rolls you over with things that you didn't deserve, shouldn't have happened to you, you've taken every precaution and it still hits you. Those are the times where you just feel like, do you have the energy to pick yourself up and undo all the damage that you didn't deserve? And it's it's always been uphill, but now, you've just fallen back, you've lost a lot of progress. So I think that it's when those things happen. But then, when you survive it, you come out so much stronger, and it makes sense in the end. You learn a lot through those really painful moments. And what success looks like for me, I think, is the idea that I have, you can book whatever holiday you want, whichever day you want to go with your loved ones, you're off. You've got a system running, that's sort of your passive income, I guess, and you're doing something positive for the world. So, you're proud of the footprint you're leaving behind. And hopefully, you've got some skills so that, when your loved ones, maybe your children, if they want to consider this really scary path in the future, you can actually help them and support them in some way, instead of just being like, oh, that sounds great. Yeah, go for it, So that's what I like, that if I can be brave enough, then hopefully I can support someone, to as well.
I think for me, success is every day where I would look back and say, did I learn something today that I didn't know yesterday? And so far, the entrepreneurship journey has more than fulfilled that mandate. But I think when I would want to stop is when I've gone through months feeling bored, like where you're feeling like you're stagnating, things are not moving. That's not great for my mental health, definitely not great for anybody else's who's working with me. So I think the moment I stop feeling I'm doing this because this is the only choice I have, would probably be the day I would want to stop.
A little bit of fun question. If you can give a movie title to what you're doing now, what would that be and why?
Mad Max Fury Road.
Magic of childhood, because our designs are about igniting the inner child within every adult.
Oh, mine is Alice in Wonderland. Oh, yeah.
I love the question. Mine would definitely be Charlie's Angels. Good. Let's take two more questions, and then...
I have my own startup for the last 2 years, and I think one thing I struggle with is basically, we talked about the support of the spouse, but they're going to be your siblings, and they're going to be your mom and all of that. And I used to be a professor before I started this, and I anyways had flexibility, I had money, and my family still can't understand like what the hell is wrong with me. And every other day I would hear things like, nothing is working out for you, why don't you just like go back, just go back. And there are days where that drains me. So have you guys experienced any of that, and how do you deal with it?
Oh, yeah. My mom learned how to read P&L statements just because she was so worried about, what is she doing? Yes. And it wouldn't stop. So spouse, friends, children, parents, whatever, whoever they will all, if they're not asking you that question, they have it in their mind. So no one is going to stop. And I think it's an open question to the floor and to everyone else. And I personally felt it is more the case for women than men. Yeah. So I felt that if I was in a room full of entrepreneurs, people were probing on my uh, business models, my financial state, lot more than they were asking men. I'm not sure if yeah. So that is the why. Just go back to what you've been doing. Yeah, why it is worth it. How did I solve it? In the first one, I could not. I used to take it very personally. I used to go on that mode to justify, and it's a slippery slope. You say things that you don't want to say. You disclose things that you do not want to disclose. The next time round, this time, I think learned my lesson, and now I join them. Yeah, it's bad. What to do? What can you do? It is what it is, and that's the end. So thick skin, just nothing else. Yeah, they are projecting their fear on you. That's all.
Yeah, so absolutely. I'm so glad you brought up the fact that women, especially, are judged on we have very little tolerance for, error as a wife and as a mother. So on top of all the stress of running your own business and everything that goes wrong, you then have to try and minimize it as much as possible so it has zero impact on your loved ones, or else they then blame you for bringing it into the family as well. But I have to admit, even though this was a terrible conversation and conflict, in the end, I forced myself to put boundaries in place. And in the end, maybe this worked out better because I was working so much, burnout was going to happen. And I had no energy reserve when our massive failure hit, which affected me a lot. But now that I really just draw my line with, I've done enough today, I think I've been the distance I've been able to put between me and my business has been really healthy for my family, for myself, mentally. So I would actually recommend, even though it's very hard, to just slowly stick to those boundaries.
I think also probably the difference between a male perspective and a female perspective is a woman would most likely take it as a personal failure that this business is not working out. A guy would look at the same problem statement and say, hey, you know what, this business did not work out. And there is a massive difference between the two things. To answer your question more directly, I haven't reached there yet just because it's been early days, that's one, plus my family's just seen me happier than I've ever been. They probably would ask me at some point what I'm on. It is the drug called entrepreneurship so far. But I'm sure that question would come if it was a year, 2 years down the line and things weren't as explosive in terms of success as we think right now.
You need a certain level of detachment also. When I started the schools in Germany, which was right after my job at Deutsche Bank, where I stayed 9 years, I set up tech-enabled schools with a very revolutionary education model. People said, you're crazy, why would you give up that job, right? And especially in Germany, super risk averse. They said, if you have visions, you should see a doctor. I think for me, it helped to not be part of the system because we lived in Germany. I was like, yeah, whatever. I didn't really care what they think of me. But I think that was a healthy detachment that I had from the system, where you can believe in what you're doing and also not feel ashamed when it doesn't work out.
Esther, I do think that spouse holds a lot of key here. Yeah, it's the spouse plays the biggest part. I don't know what you all think. I feel that the support, having your back in conversations and in such cases, when people don't probe, whether we like it or not, still a male thing, but spouse or partner, people look up to them. How are they reacting to it?
It's often not talked about, but it has a huge influence. Exactly.
Thank you so much for your honest conversation. I've been an entrepreneur at heart. My dad ran a mom and pop clothing store, so grown up like enjoying collecting money, negotiating with him. So have always wanted to start something. I'd love to go back to your ideation stage. I'd love to, you spoke a little bit about validating the business model on paper. I feel like I struggle with that. There are days where you're like convinced with the idea. After 1 week, you're like scrapping that idea. I'd love to hear a little bit about how did you ideate? How do you figure out that this is where I'll put? Of course, there's passion, but then I'd love to hear about like validating that business model on paper and what is that process? Where do you scratch it off? How deep do you go in?
Stop writing. That's the only two things I have to say. Stop writing business models. There's no such thing as where you build your business on assumptions. Maybe they're true, maybe they're not. But the only one who has the right answer is the market. So stop writing, get out of the door. Speak to the people you're building for. Know, first of all, who you're doing it for, who's your target group. Also say, so who is it not? And then speak with them. 3 a week. And that's your business plan. So there's no writing and scrapping in my belief. You should speak with them, learn, put your ego aside because you will be proven wrong. That's fine. There's no such thing as being as failing. You learn, right? If you fail, that's data, and that's a win in itself. So you are a little bit closer to building what absolutely delights your market.
Yeah, I think, and you can actually validate your business model through pitching. Even in the conversations right now, if you have something in mind, if I don't ask for your business card back, or if I don't show interest in knowing what that means, very hard to get someone else's dollar from their pocket to yours. And a transaction could be as simple as, hey, we should meet after a coffee. It doesn't have to be $1. But if someone is ready to make a transaction with you, exchange of email, exchange of business card, it shows that there is something people are ready to exchange and barter with. So when I say validate that business idea, and then you build upon that. So if you have an idea, pitch, and let's see if you can get business cards to or a coffee catch up with people to actually know more what you're selling.
I was lucky enough very early on in my entrepreneurship journey to join the Ladies Who Launch program with Hester. And I think one of the first things you said to me was the truth, especially coming from a corporate world, right? You're used to looking for research reports. There has to be a report on Google that tells me what I'm after is going to happen. But what she said was the truth is not in research reports anymore. It's out on the street by talking to people. And I feel like every conversation, I think the target you had set for me for 3 conversations a week. I was happy enough to say I did go through that for weeks and weeks and weeks before I myself, as an idea generator at that point, not even an entrepreneur, felt confident that this was worthy of pursuing. So I think similar to what you said, which is have more conversations, validate and understand truly, not with the intention of selling something, but truly getting deep into the 3rd, 4th level problem you are solving for the other person.
And nobody copies, yeah? So I think that's another thing I learned. Nobody copies anyone's idea.
No, that's not sarcastic. I think that's real. Right?
That's so real.
Yeah, it's true.
Nobody's gonna copy your solution. Nobody's gonna copy your idea. Nobody's gonna copy your business model. They're worth a penny. So do not hold back the information like we do in corporates.
Yeah.
We don't need to. Give it all. Yeah. And let's see what happens then.
On that high note, give it all, I think.
Yes, give it all.
Thank you so much for open sharing. So how you can help these ladies, whoever listens to this podcast, really. So for Kopal, right? So in the carbon credit market, she would love to get connected with people. For Sissy, of course, retail channels for children furniture, mostly in the US, but also in this region. And Anu is building in the publishing space. So it's still learning, as you've heard. So anybody in the publishing space that you know, she would love an introduction to get ahead. Thank you so much. My takeaway, you all have great reinvention capital. That's how I call it. Everything that you have built, learned, your experiences, your failures, how you rise up again, that is your startup fuel. So know that you have that, and good luck for everything that you're building. And thanks for coming.